In the year 79, Pompeii was a thriving city situated on the Bay of Naples, in the shadow of a volcano that nobody feared. With an estimated population of between 10,000 and 20,000 inhabitants, the city buzzed with commerce, pleasure, and ambition. Its cobblestone streets connected taverns, public baths, markets, and temples, where everyday life flowed with the normalcy of any summer morning. No one imagined that within hours, everything they knew would be buried under meters of volcanic ash. In this video, I use modern AI tools to bring historic paintings, maps, and ancient engravings to life, shifting perspective, changing camera angles, and moving through these scenes in ways their original artists never could. The goal isn't just to look at the past, but to step into it, to walk through Pompeii as it once was, and imagine what it might have felt like to stand here, in a living city about to vanish. And if you stick around until the end, we'll compare these same locations to how they look today, to see what time has changed and what still remains. Before we set foot on the streets of ancient Pompeii, it helps to understand how this city came to be what it was. Founded centuries earlier by the Oscans, an ancient Italic people, Pompeii grew under Greek and Etruscan influence before becoming a Roman colony in 80 BC, following the social wars. That transformation brought temples dedicated to the gods of the Roman pantheon, a renovated forum, and architecture that reflected the power and sophistication of the empire. By the 1st century, the city had become a vital commercial center, a port where goods arrived from across the Mediterranean, and where the Roman elite built summer villas to escape the bustle of Rome. The heart of Pompeii beat in its forum, a rectangular plaza surrounded by public buildings that defined the civic life of the city. At the northern end stood the Temple of Jupiter, built on a high podium with Tuscan columns that rose about 12 meters toward the sky. From here, with Vesuvius in the background framing the scene like a theater curtain, priests performed sacrifices and citizens came to honor the Capitoline Triad, Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva. The temple was not merely a place of worship. It was the visible symbol of Roman power over this city that had once been Samnite. Imagine arriving at the forum on any given morning when merchants had already opened their stalls and the aroma of freshly baked bread mingled with the murmur of transactions and political debates. A few steps from the forum stood the Stabian Baths, the oldest public bath complex in the city. Built after 125 BC, the baths were not simply a place for hygiene, they were the social center where citizens of all classes gathered to relax, conduct business, and share the gossip of the day. The complex was divided into separate sections for men and women, each with its own apoditerium, or changing room, followed by the tepidarium of moderate temperature, the caldarium with its hot baths, and the frigidarium for a final plunge into cold water. The heating system worked through a hypocaust, an ingenious method that circulated hot air beneath raised floors and through cavities in the walls. The vaulted ceilings were decorated with elaborate stucco work depicting cupids, trophies, and Bacchic figures, reminding bathers that even in daily routine, art and pleasure were ever present. For Pompeians who didn't have a kitchen at home, and there were many since only the wealthiest families could afford that luxury, food was found at the Thermopolia, the fast food establishments of antiquity. There were at least 80 of these shops scattered throughout the city, each with its characteristic masonry counter where large terracotta vessels called dolia held hot stews, legumes, and spiced wine. The counters were frequently decorated with frescoes showing the available foods: ducks, chickens, fish. In one of these recently excavated thermopolia, archaeologists found remains of pork, goat, fish, and even land snails, along with the bones of a small dog and the skeletons of those who were running the establishment when the catastrophe struck them. These places didn't just sell food. They were meeting points where people from different social strata exchanged news, closed deals, or simply hung out. The amphitheater of Pompeii rose at the southeastern edge of the city, built around 70 BC, making it one of the oldest stone amphitheaters in the Roman world. With a capacity of about 20,000 spectators, the venue could hold the entire population of the city and attracted visitors from neighboring towns. Here were held the gladiatorial spectacles that so captivated the Romans, combats where men trained in specialized schools fought for their lives, while the crowd decided their fate with thumbs up or thumbs down. In the year 59, a fight between Pompeian fans and visitors from nearby New Syria escalated into a bloody riot that left numerous dead and wounded. The Roman Senate closed the amphitheater for 10 years as punishment, a devastating blow to a city that lived for these spectacles. Graffiti found on the walls celebrated favorite gladiators like Celadus, described as the heartthrob of the girls, demonstrating that sports star fame is not a modern phenomenon. In contrast to the public spaces of the Forum and amphitheater, the homes of the Pompeian elite revealed a world of private opulence. The House of the Faun occupied an entire city block, nearly 3,000 square meters of luxury that included 2 atriums, 2 garden peristyles, private baths, and floors covered with some of the most refined mosaics in the ancient world. The entrance greeted visitors with the word "have" embedded in the floor, a Latin greeting meaning welcome. And in the center of the atrium danced the bronze statuette of a faun that gave the house its name. The most famous mosaic, a monumental work depicting the Battle of Issus between Alexander the Great and the Persian king Darius, decorated the floor of one of the main rooms. This level of ostentation served a clear purpose: to impress clients and business partners, to demonstrate the economic and cultural power of the owner in a society where status was everything. Outside the city walls, the Villa of the Mysteries spread across a hillside overlooking the Gulf of Naples. With more than 60 rooms that included areas for wine production, kitchens, baths, and reception spaces, the villa functioned both as a luxury residence and a productive farm. But what makes this villa unique are the extraordinary frescoes covering the walls of the triclinium, a sequence of nearly life-size figures that appear to represent an initiation into the Dionysiac mysteries. The images show women in different stages of a ritual, preparing, being whipped, dancing in ecstasy. These frescoes have intrigued scholars for generations, and their exact interpretation remains debated. What is undeniable is their artistic power, the way the figures seem to emerge from the red walls, as if the viewer had interrupted a secret ceremony frozen in time. The Lupanar was Pompeii's most well-known brothel, a 2-story building located at a busy intersection near the Forum and the Baths, easily found by following the phalluses carved into the paving stones that served as direction markers. The establishment had 10 small rooms, each equipped with a stone bed where prostitutes, mostly slaves purchased in the eastern part of the empire for prices around 600 sesterces, served their clients. Above the doorways of the rooms, erotic frescoes showed different sexual positions, perhaps functioning as a visual menu of available services. More than 120 pieces of graffiti cover the walls of the place, left by clients who commented on their experiences, boasted of their conquests, or simply left evidence of their visit. Prices varied from 2 asses, the equivalent of the cost of a loaf of bread, to higher amounts depending on the popularity of the worker. The walls of Pompeii spoke. More than 11,000 examples of graffiti have been discovered in the city, from declarations of love to insults, from electoral propaganda to philosophical reflections. Successors, the weaver loves Iris, the innkeeper's slave girl. She, however, does not love him. Still, he begs her to have pity on him. His rival wrote this. "Goodbye," says one of these messages. revealing a love triangle frozen in time. Others are more mundane: price lists, announcements of gladiatorial spectacles, complaints about watered-down wine in the taverns. O walls, you have held up so much tedious graffiti that I'm amazed you have not already collapsed in ruin, wrote someone with evident frustration. These messages, scrawled by merchants, slaves, soldiers, and ordinary citizens, offer an unfiltered window into the everyday concerns of people who lived 2,000 years ago and who, in essence, were not so different from us. In the city's bakeries, the ovens ran without rest. Pompeii had around 20 bakeries, each equipped with large stone mills turned by donkeys or slaves, and domed ovens capable of baking dozens of loaves at once. Pompeian bread was round and came pre-scored into segments to make it easier to divide, similar to what we would today call pull-apart bread. Some loaves bore the baker's name stamped on them, evidence of a commercial-scale industry that produced, distributed and sold this basic food to the entire population. In one of these bakeries, archaeologists found 81 carbonized loaves still inside the oven, frozen at the exact moment when the eruption interrupted the workday. The bread had turned to stone, but its shape remained intact after nearly 2 millennia. Now I want to bring you into the present and show you how these places look today. Thanks for being here, and if you have thoughts or requests for future cities, share them in the comments. Let's get into it. The Temple of Jupiter remains at the northern end of the forum, its columns reduced to stumps and its podium exposed to the open sky. Where once stood the statue of the most powerful god in the Roman pantheon, now only a fragment of his colossal head remains, yet the view toward Vesuvius from this point is still breathtaking, a constant reminder of the force that destroyed this city and that still sleeps beneath the surface. The Stabian baths have survived remarkably well. Today's visitors can walk through the same corridors as the ancient Pompeians, see the changing rooms with their clothing niches, admire the remains of the elaborate stucco work on the vaulted ceilings. The hypocaust system is visible beneath the floors, allowing us to understand how Roman comfort engineering worked. The amphitheater still stands, its elliptical structure of 135 meters long by 104 meters wide, almost intact. In 1971, the band Pink Floyd filmed a concert here with no audience beyond the production crew. And in 2016, David Gilmour returned to offer the first public concerts in the venue since the year '79. The ancient stands that once vibrated with the shouts of gladiator fans now welcome millions of tourists each year. The House of the Faun can still be visited along the Via della Fortuna. The original dancing faun statuette is housed in the National Archaeological Museum of Naples, along with the Alexander Battle mosaic, but replicas occupy their original places to give visitors an idea of how the residence looked in its heyday. The atriums, peristyles, and monumental scale of the complex continue to impress. The Villa of the Mysteries, restored and reopened in 2015 after years of conservation work, allows visitors to contemplate the frescoes that have fascinated generations of scholars. The colors remain vibrant after 2,000 years. The enigmatic figures continue to guard their secrets about rituals we may never fully understand. Pompeii was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1997, recognized as the only archaeological site in the world that provides a complete picture of an ancient Roman city. Approximately 2.5 million visitors arrive each year to walk these cobblestone streets, to see the plaster casts of bodies frozen in their final moments, to imagine what life was like before everything ended on an autumn afternoon nearly 2,000 years ago. I do really appreciate you watching. Your ideas, input, and constructive feedback really do shape what comes next. Feel free to leave a comment below. Until next time.